Good morning. It is January 1st, the first day of 2026. So I hope everyone had a really awesome New Year's Eve. Happy New Year. And yeah, I just wanted to do my first, I don't think I've done a video for New Year's Day or New Year's Eve before. So I wanted to try to do something new and, something that, it's obviously a very significant day or holiday. So yeah, I wanted to do it, and a lot of good things. A lot of good things have been happening or have happened. There's always a lot of challenges that we always go through, and I definitely had those, but so do many people. But reflecting on some of the things that have been really great, and things I'm looking forward to, in the new year. In some ways, the new year and the new day, the first start of the year, it's kind of, a lot of the times I've always had that feeling of, well, it's kind of the same shit, different day. But I don't know. I think when you look back over time, it really gives you a perspective, and there is a lot of significance behind it, because I do think, oh, wait, you know, there might be a few things that are happening in your life in the moment or in this kind of current time, and they could be really great things. Maybe they're not great things, but in this case, they're very things that you're really excited about. And you might have thought, you thinking back maybe a few years, you were like, wow, I didn't think I would be able to do that, or it seemed like an impossible thing, or something that was totally unexpected, and it feels like it's I don't know, kind of like a gift to have gotten. So yeah, I want to talk about those things. I mean, as far as being that this is obviously a movie channel, the one cool thing is I've been going to the movies a lot more in 2025, or in that's a thing I started doing a lot more in 2025. So that's been really cool because again, going to see movies, going to see live music, concerts, all those things are in my free time. It's like my favorite thing in the world. And over the last, I started getting really, really into collecting movies the last few years. I've always done it, but the last few years has been much more of a serious thing for me. And I've gotten some really great films, and I've learned a lot about the genres that I love, especially in the kind of low budget exploitation world, which is my favorite. And really taken a deep dive into exploring that seedy, that very seedy side of cinema, and that's been really fantastic. And so I, become much more of an avid collector. So that's one thing I'm pretty grateful for, and also, really grateful for this channel. I mean, this is one of the biggest things that I'm kind of most proud of, and that I just enjoy the most. And I also feel like when you're really proud of something, or when you're, when you're proud of something, that obviously lends itself to having maybe, confidence. It gives you a little bit more confidence to kind of go ahead and maybe take even more chances or risks. And but for me, it's like I realize the more I get into it, the more I enjoy it. But then I realize, wow, there's even much more. There's that much more to learn, and that can be, in regards to really any, endeavor or hobby a person, spends their time doing. And a hobby can be something of where you just kind of do it, maybe on the weekends, or it's an occasional thing. In my case, sometimes I get a little obsessive with things, with things that I enjoy. And but for me, it's become a thing of like where it's a really fun outlet. I get to talk about movies that I just, that mean the world to me. And then as a collector, like especially with the last few years, I've just been taking deeper and deeper dive, and I've been learning more and more about cinema, films in general, and especially my first love, and that is everything in the low budget kind of exploitation world. Always getting turned on to new directors, and then directors that I really love already. Realizing there's a ton of movies that I've never seen of theirs, so that's been really really fun. And with all of these boutique labels that now exist, it's pretty wild. Like if you're a collector and you're into like weird shit, it is it really is like, and when you look at it in those terms, or and it's the best time to be alive. I mean, because it's insane how much is out there and what you can find. It's kind of unbelievable. So that part of it has been really great. Movie stuff go the way movies things go, and how and it's I love how I want to thank everyone for all of the support with this channel. It's I have I guess I have pretty eclectic taste, but realizing more and more over the years that people, there's a small audience for things that are a little bit more on the stranger side when it comes to films or cinema. I mean, I do cover quote unquote normal movies because I do like them, but I don't watch them a whole lot when I'm home. But I do go see those kinds of films more so in the theater because I do love them, but that's obviously a little bit more readily available. And I love the film going experience, so much. So it's a very powerful thing. And I'm a firm believer in the Spider-Man. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, the famous quote from Spider-Man: "With great responsibility comes great power, or with great power comes great responsibility." And so I think it's, when you feel like you've gotten something good or gotten into something good, or you have an understanding of something that's pretty good. For me, it's like a case of like keeping a good sense of like humility around it, and not being comfortable and or cocky around it. Just I think it's possible for you to be really proud and happy with certain things that you are involved in personally or artistically in this case. But I don't feel like that should lead to um, you know the king shit of Turd Island mentality. Like I feel like the minute you start really believing that you're doing something really good, sometimes I feel like, at least for me, that's when I kind of stop progressing and I got to keep pushing forward because I feel like, in all of these things that I try to do, the consummate student, I'm always learning. I never feel complacent, where I'm necessarily at. I kind of want to always keep learning because I realize, you know, people that I really, really admire in the arts that I look up to, realize I will probably never achieve what they have, but I'm gonna, do my damnedest to get as close as that as I possibly can, and just realizing I have a sense of humility, and I'm just, keeping my ego checked, and just trying to move forward. And with this channel, which is like a really big example, I kind of always wanted this to be it's a passion project, and it's kind of evolved into something that means maybe a little bit more, a little deeper for me, because it really represents, I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like it's a personal journey, and it's like a personal journal. Because anybody checking out these videos, if they want to know kind of who I am as a person, for good or bad, it just represents who I am, and I realize within that, I want to keep learning and keep learning, new techniques, new things, new ideas, and I feel the same way with music. I feel like in music there's certain things I'm very very proud of, and I will stand by them. But I feel like I want to also keep that humility close, to myself, and realizing I got to keep pushing forward, and not let the if someone likes something or loves something that I do, I don't want that to ever impede on like where I start believing that, and then I stop learning. So I feel like those things are really really strong and valuable for me personally. So with this channel, very, very happy with how this is growing, how it's been growing. So I'm really thankful to all of the awesome people out there that have been, subscribing to this channel over the years. You all know who you are. Friends that I know personally, and then friends that I don't know personally, but I know through social media. All the people that have been commenting on the videos and really helping this helping this whole thing grow. So very, very proud of that and really happy. But trying to always move forward. I'm always trying to come up, with new ideas and variety. Things that I'm trying to move into more with this new year is I want to do. Want to dive back into doing more interview segments. That's a big thing that I really want to do, which I haven't done in a while. And then also, I've been experimenting with using various kind of software programs for doing editing uh, projects with the videos, and that's something I just started to do, and that's something I want to do more of. The main thing is I really want to get into doing interviews again because I really miss doing that, and I've done a few interviews on this channel where I'm pretty happy with how they've come out. Doing interviews is obviously a lot more challenging, scheduling and all those things. But so those are two things, and then especially with technology, with trying to learn some new editing programs, software programs to work on these videos to kind of jazz up the videos a little bit visually, because I have a lot of ideas with that. So, and again, I can't do any of this weird stuff without you crazy folks supporting it. So, love you guys. And other things that have been happening or that have happened this year that kind of excited about. I've been really probably the most enjoyable thing and the most kind of rewarding thing and the most and just one of the funnest things I've ever experienced is playing with this new band Osmia that I started playing with this year, and that's been a tremendous experience. I been a big fan of that band for quite a few years, and then getting a chance to play with them and be a member of the band has been just super awesome. And we've got to play a lot of shows this year in 2025, and then we uh, did some touring, which was really fun, especially the first tour that we went on, which was a bigger one, and that's just been great. I'm such a fan of that music, and it's it's a big challenge. It's everything, and that's what I want, And I'm just a big fan of their music and their songwriting. They're great guys, and I'm really looking forward to putting out this Osmia record that we finished in about like October, November of last year. Now we finished up. We started messing around with doing some recording in late summer, fall time, and then we finished it about a month ago. So right now, it's in the process of the mixing phase and mastering all those things, and that will take a while. But I'm very, very excited about that album coming out this year. And then also we're gonna go back. I think it's in April. We're gonna go back out on tour again, and so very, very excited about that band and where that's going to go, hopefully, and then the big thing is this new record coming out. So that's going to be really exciting. That's something I'm really, really, really enthusiastic about, and just really happy. The other thing, of course, that I'm really, really proud of with how it's been growing over the years, and then especially this year because we ended up playing a lot of shows, and there's a lot of times where I'm like, wow, how does this all work? And I don't know because I never really kid myself into anything that I'm doing, like even with this channel, that I kind of don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of trying to make things happen, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm not really following, a rule book because there's a lot of people out there in the arts that have a very kind of tailored thing as far as like how they, maybe even the demographic of the age group that they're trying to cater their stuff to, or they're sticking with like one particular style of music or what have you, or film, and and they're just trying to like focus on that and build it. I don't really do that. I just kind of like a lot of shit, and I just want to be talking about it. I guess. I don't really. I don't really think this way or that way. Like there's times, and I know that can be a problem because it makes it harder to market. I think like with Quantum, which is a band that I've had for 10 years. Like we're obviously an electronic band, but I listen to a lot of different kinds of music, and then I listen to a lot of music that is non-electronic, and I'm influenced obviously mainly by movies. But I try to put in a lot of different influences into the music because I feel like the band has evolved, and it's a place of where I can really music that I listen to, whatever it is, I can um, dump that into the big pot, and try to do something creative and maybe different. And again, I'm not the one to judge that. It's people, because some people you know, will not like it. I've had that happen many times, and then I've gotten a lot of really great feedback from people over the years. We could easily just do a thing of where we're like a pure dubstep, group, or like we should play straight up house music. And all of those styles are a big influence on the band, but it's like I listen to a lot of jazz. I listen to a lot of like fusion music. I listen to a lot of, soundtrack music, ambient music, hip hop, so noise music. And so I feel like fortunate that I can take all those influences and just dump them in there, and just feel like it's whatever, for good or bad. It's a natural thing. It's not like I'm forcing it to to make it into something that it's not really, that it's not necessarily uh, true, I guess. And I know on one hand that can impede us because some of our stuff isn't like you know straight down the middle that way where it's maybe, oh, this is they play dubstep or they play just straight house music or ambient music, and so it's a little bit harder to kind of like market that sometimes. But I'm okay with that because I feel like, for good or bad, it feels natural. And I feel the same way with this channel. Like there's people who will pretty much, if they're into, say, big budget Hollywood films, you know, say like new releases, they kind of focus on that. Or if they're just, say, into comic book films, and they'll just cater to that audience. Or if they're into just pure like sleazy exploitation, they just kind of cater to that audience. But for me, um, I don't really do that. I just kind of talk about movies because I just really love them, and that's all it is. I don't really think about particular demographic, or I need to just like focus on just doing pure grindhouse cinema, or pure Hollywood based films or comic book movies. I love it all. I love it all, and again, my favorite. I have my favorites, obviously, with exploitation movies, but I love everything. I love all that shit. If it's good, it's good, and I feel the same way with music. And so it's just me expressing that, and that's all it is. And I know there's a lot of YouTube channels out there and people that talk about movies that don't do that because they do very much focus on that, on a particular thing all the time, and that can lead to being very, very successful, and on a quicker level. But I don't know. Like I understand, and again, it's just these are just kinds of examples of like I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing it, I guess. So, and that's okay. I'm okay if it takes longer to get subscribers or to like get notoriety, because I want that stuff, but I actually don't really care about that really, because it's about just the passion that I have for these things, and that applies for Quantum. I don't really. I feel like everything else is kind of superficial, even though I do realize that that can be a tricky marketing thing. So and then this year with Quantum, we were really really busy with gigs, which was really fortunate because I had some things this year that were tough because I had three bands, pretty much three bands that I had that I've been playing with for years, and they both kind of folded right around the same time, too, out of the blue. And it all kind of happened around the same time early last year, and it was tough. It was a really hard and weird adjustment because, well, financially, and then trying to adjust to things, and like, okay, what am I gonna do now? If you're like, because I'm, I guess mostly a gigging musician, so it was really tough, and and other things that were invested. But I try not to get too bitchy about it or complain too much. Try to make the best of it, and it led to other things. It led to the working with Osmia, and then working more with Quantum this year. Like we had a lot more gigs, and I feel like it's been it's been a really great adventure. And I've been doing that band for a long time, and I feel like you know as I've been doing it for so long, as I've gotten older, and as we've been doing the music and have had these experiences, and realizing that over a course of 5 years, when you think of bands that are in existence, and then after a couple of years they're gone and they don't exist anymore, it's like holy shit, it's a really fragile thing and precious thing when you find a project or a band that can have standing or lasting power. And I feel really fortunate because I feel like we've been through a lot of ups and downs, but mostly good things, and we've been able to keep the band going, no matter what. And my enthusiasm and my love for the band, I honestly feel like I'm into it more now than I've ever been, and it never feels like, oh, here we go, or I roll out of bed and I just don't want to do it, or it just isn't exciting because I'm even more excited by it. So I'm really excited about with prospects for future things that we're going to do with Quantum, and future recording projects and some future gigs and all of those things. So really excited with that. And I still am uh, more or less a freelance drummer. So I do pick up gigs and I do those occasionally. This time of year is very, very slow, and at some point things will probably pick up. But I still do those things. If I can pull it off, I'll do other gigs. Pick up gigs. So I've this past year I did a lot more of those. The touring thing has been really fun. A band I've also been playing with for a few years now, Bookhead Sweet Tooth, and they're just awesome, awesome guys. We did a second tour this summer, and I had not done the whole touring thing in a very long time. I had, some experience doing it, in the mid 2000s or even, early 2000s, and hadn't done it in a really long time. Most of the gigs and work that I was doing were all things that were pretty local, but I really, had some fabulous experiences doing some touring this year and then also last year, and I just really love doing it. It's a cool way of like kind of going on a little bit of a vacation, seeing parts of the country that I've never seen before, and then also like getting a chance to play music, for people or audiences who have no idea who you are. And then the other thing that's been really great is networking and meeting all of these other bands. That's just been super fun. And I hadn't done any of that kind of work. And it's hard, it's a lot of work. And I've had experiences in the past with touring, and usually shorter kind of runs, where touring is not really great and it's not a lot of fun. But these last three tours or so that I've done between last year and this year have been really fun, really, really fun. And playing with Bookhead Sweet Tooth has been a blast. Those guys are such a motley crew, and so doing those things has been really, really fun. And it's challenging, and it is a lot of work. But I'm looking forward to maybe doing more of that stuff. We are going to go on the tour on the road again with Osmia this year, and so and I'm working on this new project which I haven't announced, which is with a singer songwriter who is also her and her husband are also they make videos, and they are also both filmmakers. And right now we're like working on this project together where we are like rehearsing and learning all of this woman's material that she's written. It's really interesting and cool stuff. and working on getting that stuff together, and then also like we're gonna go at some point into the studio to record, and then a lot of these tracks and songs I think it's gonna be in company with a film or a short series of short films. So um, really interesting material, pretty challenging material in its own way. It's all original music. So that's been a newer project that I've been doing, and I'm really excited about that. I haven't done that kind of work before, working with like a person who is an actual director and is also a musician and is trying to like kind of do this, trying to put together this whole kind of ambitious project. So that's a lot of fun, and we've been like working on that as we go. So yeah, and then going to the movies more has been a blast. I'm looking forward to this year as far as when it comes to new movies. I think it seems like there's going to be a pretty decent. It seems like 2026 like is going to be a pretty decent year when it comes to horror films. There's quite a few movies coming out this year. I've kind of been taking a peek, looking around, and seeing what's coming out. So very much looking forward to that. And again, I love going to the movies more and more. Getting a chance to do that, that's been a super great fun activity. So yeah, I just wanted to do a quick video on things that I'm really happy and grateful for moving into 2026, the new year. Um, so yeah, happy New Year, and again, I can't thank everyone enough. All the people who have been subscribing to this page and apparently like to listen to me babble on and on about things that I love, movies that I love, and also music. And all the people who have been, just supportive and people who comment on the videos every day. I do make it a point to respond to every comment. So I really love when people do that. I always, every day when I get new comments, I'm always replying to the comments. I really appreciate it. I've also been turned on and have met some very cool people through this channel, the Film Fanatic channel, and I've gotten recommended a lot of really cool movies that I've never seen before, and to me, that's where it's at. So, thanks again, and here's to 2026, and Happy New Year.